Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts? That, apparently, is the question. So before I actually get rolling here, I'm in my car where I am normally, and I'm going to go ahead and put my seatbelt on. One, because it is the right thing to do. You should always drive with a seatbelt, be safe, protect yourself. But also, I get a lot of comments telling me that I'm a moron, put my seatbelt on, things like that, and I just, I don't want to deal with that. Rightfully so. Should have my seatbelt on, so I'm going to do that. But topic of today's video on my drive to the gym is Eagles, Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts. Who should be the starting quarterback for the rest of the year and potentially beyond? So, Carson Wentz, let me take you back. Before we can talk about where we are currently, we need to go back in time to a year I call 2017. Carson Wentz was balling out. He was on his way to winning an MVP. Me, pre-shoot, pre-camera, pre-putting my thoughts out there, I said he was a top 5 quarterback. And I had people telling me, no, he was not. And then he kept balling out. And then he was on his way to win an MVP before he tore his ACL. And he was, in fact, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL at that time. I thought, at that time, Aaron Rodgers, best quarterback for that year in the previous 10. I live in Pennsylvania, watched a lot of Philadelphia Eagles games, especially because I liked what Carson Wentz did. And I'd watch him and I'd say, you know what, he is the best quarterback I've watched since Aaron Rodgers, and when Aaron Rodgers is no longer the best, he's going to be the guy that takes over. Granted, this was 2017. Technically, Patrick Mahomes was in the NFL, but he was holding a clipboard for Alex Smith. Clearly, he ended up being the guy to do that. But at that time, it was Carson Wentz pre-injuries. He was balling out, pre-big-time contract, tears his ACL, comes back the next year. Well, tears his ACL, Nick Foles goes and leads them to the Super Bowl. They win it. Nick Foles goes next year being a backup, back to being the backup. Carson Wentz was the starter. At the end of 2018, they had to make a decision. They traded Nick Foles. Eagles fans weren't thrilled. Carson Wentz is the guy. He's younger. He's more talented than Nick Foles, let's be honest. But Nick Foles did have that championship, and he held a soft spot in Philadelphia. But at the time, thought it was the right decision. But Carson Wentz, man, the ACL, broke his back or something like that. He had a back injury that he missed some time with, and now he's just struggling. I don't know if it's like the yips or whatever, but you watch him, and he holds the ball too long, and he tries to force things, and you'll watch him. I'll watch him, and you'll see throws that he makes that not too many guys can make. Probably him, Mahomes, Rodgers, Josh Allen, and you're like, damn, that's why he gets paid $35 million a year. That's why they signed him. And then you'll watch a throw, it's like a 5-yard curl, and he'll miss it. He'll miss. And then you're like, geez, what is that? That's not great. 2, you have to look at what he has around him. So right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm not telling you guys, if you're NFL fans, if you have eyes, if you're fans of the Eagles, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. The Eagles stink. They are not a good team. I can't name one good thing about them other than Miles Sanders. That is like the only thing I can name. So you look, his weapons, awful. They are terrible. His 1-2 when they're healthy are Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson. That sounds great on paper, and that would have been great if the year was 2014, but it's 2020, and that is no longer great. Those guys are old. They're probably at the tail end of their career. They've lost a step. They drafted Jalen Reagor in the first round. Me personally, as a Packers fan, needing a team that needed a receiver, I did not want Jalen Reagor. The thought of a 5'11" downfield guy was just not someone I wanted. Just not someone I wanted. The Eagles drafted him over Justin Jefferson, which I thought was just a terrible decision at the time, and it clearly, year one, turns out to be that way because Justin Jefferson is definitely in the top 10 in receiving yards. I think he might be in the top 5, and he looks like that dude that I wanted in Green Bay that we did not get. But yeah, that doesn't look to be the greatest decision by the GM there. Yeah, and on top of that, Miles Sanders has been hurt. Their 2 tight ends, Ertz and Goddard, have been out. Their offensive line stinks. Carson Wentz, what do you expect the guy to do? He's throwing to Ward, who was a outstanding player in college, but at a different position. He was an outstanding quarterback in college, not a receiver. So he's your number 1. You have Travis Fulgham, who had a good hot stretch to start when they signed him off the practice squad. He's kind of tailored off since then, but he was a practice squad guy. You have Jalen Reagor, the aforementioned Reagor. He's not throwing to the cream of the crop. I mean, I imagine if you put him on a team like Tampa Bay, he'd be doing a lot better. Or if you put him in Kansas City, he'd be doing a lot better. I mean, at this point, you can't put it all on him, but he has enough of the blame for sure. Now let's move on to Jalen Hurts. Another guy who, draft time as a Packers fan, I'm like, okay, if we're going to draft a quarterback, I'm okay if they drafted Jalen Hurts. If they get him in the third round, I'd love it. Because Jalen Hurts, to me, seems like a guy in 2 or 3 years that could be an above-average starting NFL quarterback. An above-average, because we'll go back to his college days. All right, he was the starter right from the get-go. True freshman, starting at Alabama. He wasn't bombing it all over the field. He was using his legs a lot. This was pre-Tua, where Alabama's offense was super conservative. The quarterbacks didn't really go high in the NFL drafts. It wasn't a air the ball out kind of offense, which changed when Tua took over. So Jalen Hurts, his sophomore year, I believe, plays. They get to the national championship. First half, he stinks. Absolutely stinks. They make the adjustment to Tua at halftime. Tua wins the national championship. Next year, they have a quarterback competition. Tua wins. This was when you could transfer. This was I think the first year of the NCAA rule where you could transfer within 4 games before you play 4 games and not have to sit out the next year, play immediately the next year. Jalen Hurts could have done that. He did not. He stayed. He was a backup to Tua. He was there for Tua. I respect that. That shows his intangibles. That's why I love Jalen Hurts so much. And then he went on and he did his thing at Oklahoma, and he almost won a Heisman. He was up there. He had a big year. But with Jalen Hurts, I mean, he doesn't have a big-time NFL arm. He's decently accurate. He doesn't have a big-time NFL arm. He runs, he can run, but he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Kyler Murray. He's not going to elude defenders. He doesn't have wiggle. I mean, if you look at his Oklahoma stuff, when he was running, he was pretty much more so Cam Newton, a smaller version of Cam Newton. He's running forward and lowering his shoulder. It's tough. So with Jalen Hurts, could he be successful for you, Philly? Yes. But I think he needs to sit and he needs to learn how to be an NFL quarterback because he has intangibles that are off the chart. You can't teach him. You can't teach what he does. His leadership, what he has shown through his college career is fantastic. You can't teach that. But again, he needs to learn how to be a good quarterback, read defenses. He seems like a smart guy. Watch some things pre-draft with him with Steve Mariucci breaking it down on the whiteboard. Seems like he knows what's going on. Seems like he's got a good football mind. But again, he needs to learn how to do some things, throw with anticipation, things like that. And I definitely think he could be a starting quarterback, but I think now if you throw him into Philadelphia now with that offensive line, with all the things I said that are a detriment to Carson Wentz or that you have to take into account when talking about Carson Wentz, I think it ain't going to be much better with Jalen Hurts, and I think you'll ruin him. He does have potential. He could be something, but do not get him started off on the bad foot by throwing him out there behind this awful offensive line with these awful weapons, with a running back who's good, but he's not there all the time. He's injured. He doesn't play consistently. Don't do that to this kid. And, I mean, Carson Wentz, yes, he stinks right now. I will admit it. But, I mean, it is what it is. It's a victim of, he's technically a victim of, what's surrounding him and poor decision-making. But it's not all Carson Wentz. You can't just say Carson Wentz completely stinks and think Jalen Hurts is going to be the answer. Because, yeah, teams might be able to not figure Jalen Hurts out right off the bat. You might be able to come with a different package, but I don't really think you will because Carson Wentz might literally be as athletic as Jalen Hurts. So if you're going to put Jalen Hurts back there, same offense, not running a new scheme, not doing anything different, he's not going to fare any better. And that's just a fact of the matter. But those are my opinions. I would love to hear it from the Eagles fans out there and just any other NFL fans. If you were the coach, if you were Doug Peterson, would you stick with Carson Wentz or would you roll with Jalen Hurts just to see what he has for the rest of the year? I think I would stick with Carson Wentz, but again, I want to hear what you think. Let me know. Comments below. See ya in the next one with my seatbelt on.